Hey, let's catch up with some Spurs news and notes that you may have missed. And is the roster is currently built? Is it the right fit for Wemby?
You are Locked On Spurs, your daily San Antonio Spurs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Happy Monday, everybody. I am Jeff Garcia, Spurs beat writer for Ken's 5 TV. I am your host right here on Locked On Spurs. Hope you had a great, relaxing weekend and getting ready for the last week here in August. And we'll get you through it right here on Locked On Spurs. Hopefully you don't have the Monday blues. I don't want to have the Monday blues. But if you do, sit back, enjoy some off-season Spurs discussion we're going to have right here on Locked On Spurs. Today's episode is brought to you by GameTime. I'm going to go to GameTime right now. Download the GameTime app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Download GameTime today. What time is it? Game time. What are we talking about today? You can see your screen there. If you can't, on the audio side, we're going to be discussing some Spurs news. Be really brief, just catch up some small things, and then bring in our guest, Raul Dominguez of the AP Sports. We're going to be discussing if the roster as presently constructed the right fit to complement Wembanyama, and then talk about you guys, the Locked On Spurs fans in the comments you guys are leaving at the YouTube page. But first, some Spurs news and notes that you may have missed since it's been a while since we last spoke. Probably saw this already. Victor Wembanyama and his family are vacationing in Costa Rica. They're taking a lot of the local cuisine. Interesting enough, how do you miss a 7'4" guy in Costa Rica? Well, yeah, you couldn't, because they released some photos of him and he's just towering over all the wait staff and everything. And you know what? It's good to see him decompressing during this offseason. He's going to need it, because you figure what the Olympic run he had, and it stopped in just about a month-ish, before training camp begins, and then the real deal begins with the regular season. So R&R is got to be up there for Wemby this offseason. But he's out in Costa Rica, or maybe he was or wasn't, but if he's still there, and if you're in Costa Rica, look out for a 7'4" guy. You can't miss him, seriously. In other sports news, Keldon Johnson wants you to party with him. Yeah, you heard that right. He wants you to party with him. He is hosting his annual season kickoff celebration, and you are invited. So it's not just Spurs fans who are anxious about the new season to start. So he is hosting, again, the season kickoff celebration in San Antonio on Thursday, October 10th. And it's going to be and write this down or rewind it or record it, whatever you got to do. It'll be at the Top Golf facility at 5539 Northwest Loop 410. 78249 is a zip code. Now, you got to reserve your spot. You want to call 804-433-0048 and get a spot and go meet and greet with Keldon Johnson. Yeah, he usually does this a lot. I think this is like his second or third time in a row where he brings in the fans so they can celebrate the new season. He had last year. He had a meet and greet with fans. Hey, look, they're allowed. Hey, now's your chance to ask about the jersey situation. Are you really keeping number 3? Are you really going to give it up to Chris Paul towards the beginning of the season? We got him on video saying that he's going to be number 3 for sure, his words. But of course, you can ask him about expectations, thoughts on the season, his off season. But yeah, here's your chance to get to know Keldon Johnson at a party. So you got that address. Go have fun with Keldon Johnson. And finally, in other Spurs news, if you missed out, again, it's only if you're in San Antonio. If you missed out on getting the David Robinson basketball jersey that the minor league team in San Antonio called the Missions Baseball, are giving out, you're going to get one final shot. Yes, the local San Antonio baseball team has announced, I don't know if you can see it on your screen right now, but if you can, because you're listening, Friday, August 30th at 7 o'clock Central, you can show up to Wolf Stadium. That's where they go and play the baseball games there. And you can get yourself the David Robinson old school ABA throwback jersey. Again, you can see it on your screen if you're watching on YouTube. There it is. Again, this is your last chance to get it. They'll be taking on the Round Rocks, so make sure you get the tickets for that game on Friday, August 30th. And yeah, my biggest regret, I never got the Manu Ginobili jersey. They had a mashup of like a Fiesta colors, Manu Ginobili's name on it. Very, very nice. I've seen them in person, like on fans wearing them. It looked great. But I may not want to miss this one. I mean, look at that. I mean, that's just a throwback San Antonio old ABA school there. You got the black jersey, and it's free. You just show up. I believe it's for the first 2,500 fans, so you got to get there early, get in line right there. That's a nice looking jersey there. And I saw the Manu Ginobili ones that they gave out earlier this season. They're not bad. They look, at least from what I saw, very good quality, not cheap. So there it is. And by the way, if you're thinking about trying to go into the fan shop at the Missions games, they don't carry them. I tried to do that for the Manu jersey, didn't work out. They say they don't have it. And in case you were wondering, well, why Robinson? Why Manu Ginobili jerseys at a baseball game, let alone the Missions baseball? Well, Manu Ginobili and David Robinson are actually owners. They're part owners of the local minor league baseball team. So they're honoring their owners with this jersey. You missed out on Manu Ginobili. Who knows? Maybe they might have a surplus and announce it later down the road. But as of now, this will be the last chance to get yourself the David Robinson San Antonio Missions jersey for free. Friday, August 30th, 7:05 p.m. is the beginning of the game there. So get the tickets and go get that jersey for free. All right, there you have it. Some quick Spurs news and notes. When we get back, we're bringing our guest, Raul Dominguez of the AP Sports. We're going to be discussing if the roster, as presently constructed, complements Wemby, and then talk about the Locked On Spurs. Your comments. What are y'all talking about over at the Locked On Spurs YouTube page? Hey, I want to talk about Game Time. You want to go to gametime.co right now. And by the way, if you have the all-in pricing on that app, make sure you have it on and turn on that feature. Now, what is all about Game Time? Well, easiest, most exciting way to get some tickets in your area. Game Time has this new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for your favorite live events easier. Game Time Picks filter out all the fluff. Only shows you incredible deals on great seats. You don't have to do all the searching, wasting time through thousands of tickets. Hey, Game Time's 50% off Labor Day offer for Diamondback Dodgers game. Well, keep an eye on for that. Hey, you know what? I like using Game Time. Easy to use, quick to download, very user-friendly, not complicated. You make your picks, get in, get out, have some fun with sports all year round. Hey, they have views from your seats before you buy, lowest price guarantee, event cancellation protection, job loss protection. They got it all. They even have an app feature and it customize your spot and it'll just help you find easier seats. So yeah, all good things from Game Time. That's where you got to get it right now. Hey, curation makes it easier to save more on sports, concerts, comedy, and theater. That all-in prices I mentioned earlier, toggle this feature to show the total up front so there's no surprise fees at checkout. Hey, the lowest price guarantee or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What is it? Game Time. I want to talk to you about Mudslingers. You want to go to Mudslingers Drive-Thru Coffee right now, San Antonio. Located at 281 and 1604 in the 281 area. You know where that is if you're in San Antonio. Go there right now. Open every single day from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Need a latte, cold brew, coffee, signature drink like the Mudslinger coffee, caffeinated, decaf. They have it all. Friendly staff, great menu, mini donuts as well. What more do you want? Mudslingers is your place to go to get the best coffee or drinks in San Antonio. They have this line called the Lightning Bolt series that includes the Alien, which is a drink named after Victor Wembanyama. Go get it. It's really good. So that line, just a heads up, the default now is going to be Lotus Energy. That's 7 power plant extracts, gives them flexibility to create more drinks. But if you want Red Bull, they'll still have it for you. Just let them know. But just a heads up, the default will be Lotus Energy. Go to Mudslingers Drive-Thru Coffee right now, San Antonio, 281 and 1604. And open every single day from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Follow them on social media at Mudslinger SATX. Do it right now because life is too short for a bland coffee.
The Jedi uses the Force. To subscribe to Locked On Spurs, pass on what you have learned.
And look who is back, everybody. Raul Dominguez. Follow him on X at Dominguez5. He is an AP sports writer. Rocking a t-shirt that I'm very, very jealous of. He's got the X-Men crew. Everybody see he has Colossus, Crawler, Wolverine, and Cyclops. Man, that's a nice t-shirt.
The Queen Bohemian Rhapsody essentially is that one.
I have one t-shirt. It's not like that. but I got to dig up and find. I want to wear it to a Spurs game. When I wear my nerdy shirts there. It's one of Shredder, and it reminded me that because of Wolverine doing like that right now. So he's kind of similar like that with his claws, his razor claws out, and each claw has the mask of all the turtles. So he just defeated them. So I'm like, yeah, that's my kind of T-shirt right there. But awesome T-shirt there. I stamp of approval. So why is Raul here? Well, we're going to be discussing whether or not the roster, as presently constructed, complements Wemby. That was kind of a running theme last year. Oh, look, they don't get it. There's a 7-foot girl. How are they not passing to him? Oh, this and that. And then slowly but surely, you're starting to get to it. But they made some changes, some nice changes, some drastic changes, especially at the point guard spot. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. But as of this recording, with the roster they have right now, because who knows, maybe they might flip something or something might could happen between now and then. Is this a complementary team to make Wemby even bigger, to make him more of a force offensively and defensively? Now, Raul, you are the guest, and usually the guests go first, but I already kind of know where you're going to go, so let me just get mine out really, really fast, okay?
Yeah, of course.
I argue that it is right for Wemby. Why? Devin Vassell caught on with him late in the season, better late than never, but he caught on. He talked about it to close out the season, said he wants to keep on building that. And I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, I think he said he wants to work out with Wemby or something to that effect, work out with the guys in that last conference call that we had with them to end the season. So check. You corrected the point guard spot. Chris Paul, there's your veteran point guard. There's a guy that's going to put Wemby in the right spots, find him in the sweet spots, get him ready. Check. So you got Devin complimenting. You got Chris Paul complimenting. They did away with Sochan at point guard spot. Yay, that could have really just been a bad fit for Wemby with Sochan there, not knowing what to do. So yay, that'll continue that way. And then, of course, Mamu, he played great with Wemby. Wemby to the point he even gave him a vote of confidence. And when he was still up in the air whether or not he's going to be a Spur, that be Mamu, he's back. All the pieces are there, Raul, for this team to have a near close to complementary team/teammates for Wemby. And I think that's going to help Wemby even become more of a force next season. However, Raul, you're kind of on the fence. I know that you spoke to me about it before you hit record. You were kind of, Jeff, I don't know. Go ahead.
I was just saying that Wemby's such a unique player. I mean, I don't know if any player will sort of fit his game. It's almost a point where I kind of think Wemby's so unique. I think it would take 5 Wembys or maybe even Wemby by himself out there, just because, he loves to run the floor. He loves to move around. He likes to bring the ball up himself. He likes the ball in certain spots, or there's times when he'll take the ball and he'll just dribble it up himself and, make a move. But, and I'm just kind of looking at last season. I know Spurs got a lot of grief. Pop got a lot of grief for them not really meshing well with Wemby or not getting Wemby the ball. But if you look at how Wemby was during the rookie All-Star game, same thing, like they weren't getting the ball. He just didn't seem to fit well. And then even bigger, if you look at France, they had trouble getting him the ball, and Rudy Gobert, who I know gets a lot of knocks, but is still, an elite defender. He just was a horrible fit with Wemby. I mean, it got to the point where they just took him out of the starting lineup just because, it impacted Wemby and what he could do. So, like I said, Wemby's such a unique player. I don't know if there's any player that really fits his style, again, because there's nobody else like him out there in the NBA. I mean, closest thing is Kevin Durant, but, Kevin Durant's more of a perimeter player, perimeter offensive player. And Wemby's can do it all. He's dunking more. He's doing some more spin moves. Obviously, elite defender. So that's why I was a little kind of uncertain. I think the Spurs are entering the season in a lot better shape, but one, because they picked up Chris Paul, which is huge for them, but also I think it's also because they know a little bit more about him. Pop knows a little bit more about him. The players know a little bit more about him. I think last year he was just sort of like, to use his nickname, an alien. Like they heard all these stories about him, but they weren't quite sure what he could do. I mean, who knew that the 7-footer could do a wraparound wrap around and dunk on somebody like he did with Robin Lopez. But I think they're a lot better equipped. But it's tough to say, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it's tough to say. Look, you're hitting the nail. They are definitely better than they were last year, roster-wise. They more talent. Harrison Barnes, another reason why I think the roster is pretty complimentary for Wemby. Now you have a veteran forward with Wemby near the paint, around the paint, that I think will do wonders for him too. Another thing too, I think the wild card, in my opinion, that I think why it fits right now is Stephon Castle. Here's a kid that is used to playing with a 7'4" guy. I don't know how tall Donovan Clingan was, but he was up there. He was definitely past 7'1". So he's already used to that. So when he does get out there and have to compliment Wemby, he can do that pretty, hopefully seamlessly. We'll see what happens. And Wemby, look, Clingan and Wemby, total worlds apart, but at least there's some familiarity with playing with a big of that height for Castle. I mentioned Harrison Barnes. I think that's going to do well too. Here's the other thing too. I think for Popovich, I think he himself had to go through a learning lesson with having to plan around Wemby, build schemes around Wemby defensively and offensively. I think defensively, you just let him go. That's all you got to do. Let him do what he has to do. But offensively, I think he learned how to put Wemby in the better spots. And I think Pop's knowledge is really gonna help Wemby move forward. I mean, I would love to. You know what I would love to see back? 4 down, just abuse him in the paint. Why not? I think that's something that Pop could bring down. Now, for those that don't remember, 4 down was a play that was made for Tim Duncan. And when you saw Pop go like this on the sideline 4 like that, give it to Timmy and get out of the way. I think that needs to come back and just give it a Wemby. Everybody stand back, let him operate. But go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead. No, I was going to say, because people knew what was coming, but Timmy was such a great offensive player, regardless of whether you knew what was coming. And trust me, teams know what's coming with Pop. He may change, signals or whatever, but they pretty much run the same thing every year, under Pop. I mean, look at when I sit by the scouts during the Spurs games, and they kind of are familiar with everything. And then if you look at whenever they play, there's always a veteran player, who knows exactly what the Spurs are going to do. They know, Pop will put something up, this or whatever, and they know exactly what it is. But the Spurs usually execute so well that it doesn't matter. So I think the same thing with Wemby is, if they do the 4 down and clear them out, I think Wemby's so talented, that I think he will be the only one that can stop Wemby.
Yeah, exactly.
Wemby can stop Wemby.
And what I'm going to be interested to watch this year is the new influx of bigs. So Chet Holmgren is going to be Chet Holmgren. He'll probably be Wemby's chief rival for a long time. But as far as individual matchup, I would love to see how Zach Edey and Wemby match up. And that's another guy just equally as tall as Wemby. And Edey's bigger too. He's heavier. Same thing with Clingan. I want to love to see that. How the Spurs are going to adjust the roster, or sort of say lineups, when that happens. Edey's a big boy. He may be a rookie, and Wemby's probably going to school him a few times. But if it comes down to it, Edey could probably throw his body on him and body him up. And Wemby added, according to him, about 5 to 6 pounds of muscle. But I still don't think that's enough yet. He needs to get maybe a little heavier. So with that being said, the roster, in my opinion, is complementary. But let me ask you, Raul, do you think there's any weaknesses in the pieces around Wemby right now?
At this point, I don't think so. I think it's just a matter of experience. I think Chris Paul is going to do wonders. I think Chris has had who did he have? He had Blake Griffin. He had DeAndre Jordan.
Did he have Dwight Howard?
I believe Dwight was there for a little while, and then I'm trying to think in Houston, who do you have? I think he had Christian Wood. I think it was, and Chris is great about just lobbing the ball up, and Wemby. That's all Wemby wants. Get it somewhere near the rim. He's gonna either get it and dunk it, or as tall as he is, maybe just do a little finger roll or off the glass. So that's going to be huge for Wemby. Just I don't think Chris needs to do anything special, anything different than what he's done. I think he just needs to throw the ball up, and he's smart enough to where he can do that, and where he can do that to where it's either going to be a lob or he's going to do a little scoop shot or a little short jumper.
Mm-hmm.
So he's going to keep teams off balance. I think that's going to be good for them. I think Harrison Barnes, Jeremy, and Devin are going to do extremely well with them alongside Chris Paul. I think the big thing for me is to see what they do with the bench. I really liked Sandro playing alongside Wemby last season, late in the year.
Nice.
They just a nice combo. I'm hopefully Mamu gets minutes off the bench, and I'd like to see him run a few minutes with Wemby. So I think the big thing is their bench. I think their bench can be a lot stronger. But again, I'd love to see Mamu get some running time with Wemby.
Yeah. Another why I think the roster is close to being very complimentary for Wemby is, and I mentioned those bigs earlier, like your Edie's and your Klingon and Chet and those big boys, the Joker, is now they got guys that they can throw at those guys and let Wemby kind of not have to deal with that very Timmy or David Robinson like. Mm-hmm. Obviously, there's no David Robinson on the roster to complement Wemby, but by committee, you got 6 fouls with Zach Collins. You got 6 fouls with Charles Bassey. And I get Mamu as well. He's a big boy. He's pretty burly. If he has to push some guys around. So I think they have the pieces to help Wemby not have to deal with that kind of defensive pressure or they have to deal with them offensively. I think we're forgetting that Bassey's back. He'll be back, and he was playing really well before he hurt his his kneecap or something like that.
Yeah.
Like he busted his kneecap.
Injury,
yeah. What do you think about that? The big man depth.
You mentioned, I know a lot of people knock Zach, but I really like Zach's game. He's not someone that's going to be a 20-10 guy. He's a guy that every once in a while gets you 20 points, usually around 10 rebounds. Smart player, really gritty player. Always going to be fighting for the ball. Yes, he's going to get dunked on. Yes, they're going to score against him, but it's not going to be because he's doing, pardon me for saying this, the James Harden Olay defense. He's going to get scored on. It's going to be because he's in their face and they're still able to score on him. But that's also why he gets dunked on a lot, because he's not backing down. But he's a guy that fights. He brings a lot of grit to the team. I think he's a tremendous backup. Bassey hustles tremendously. A lot of upside to his game. I think once he's healthy, maybe gets a little bit better condition, I think he's going to be someone. A good force. I think he's going to be someone that can, do some good spot minutes for them. But the other one is Jeremy. I mean, Jeremy can play 1 through 5. I can see him. He's done it before, where he can guard some big men. He does not back down either. Big men are going to be trying to be bumping him and stuff, and Jeremy will stay with them. And then the thing that I really love about Jeremy is, he's got that mouth on him, so he gets under a lot of players' skins. Yeah. I'm sure Chris Paul's going to enjoy being on the other side of Jeremy, because I'm sure Jeremy said a few words to Chris Paul.
Yeah, I can even see Chris Paul kind of egging that on. Like, keep that going, keep it going, keep mouthing off, don't stop, because that's how competitive Chris Paul is. I mean, remember the video years ago where, because he pointed out to a ref that an opposing player had his shirt untucked, that cost that's how. To the extent Chris Paul will look for any single type of advantage. Technical foul, Clippers won, or whatever, Houston won, whatever team he was with at the time. But no, I think I lean, if you're going to put it on a scale, I lean towards, yes, this is a close to a good complementary team to surround you in. Now, I asked you earlier about what do you see as a weakness? For me, I'm still a little leery on the outside shots. Who's going to be that consistent outside shooter? Or shooters, to open up the space for Wemby. Is it going to be Harrison Barnes? Is it going to be Castle? Everybody was kind of knocking his shot, but at least in the 3-game sample size, it looked like he can knock it out when he was at the Summer League. Is Sochan going to up his shooting? To me, that's still a question mark. What do you think about that? I'm going up and down the roster in my head right now. I don't see a clear. I cannot look at this roster right now, Raul, and say, you know what? That's our deep threat right there. Yeah, give it him. Kick it out, Wemby. Money. I can't think of that guy right now. Yeah, maybe Malachi? Malachi, maybe?
I'm not sure. It's a great point. I didn't even think about that because Chetty's gone.
Yeah.
Duck McDermott was traded, during last season.
Yeah.
Those are probably, and Devontae, probably three of their more consistent 3-point shooters. Devin's 3-point shots gotten better. Keldon's 3-point shots gotten better. Jeremy and Trey's, but there's no one, who's whenever Doug had the ball, you figure probably eight times out of 10 he's going to make it.
Yeah.
Devontae, he started getting hot. He, same thing, 8-9 times out of 10.
Yeah.
And then the other one was Chetty. Chetty especially had a hot start. But Devin's got a great outside shot. It seems like Devin, the harder the shot is, the better he is.
Yeah.
But you're right. Like, I don't know where that consistent 3-point shot is going to come from. Maybe Devin picks it up even more. Castle. Trying to think. Chris Paul isn't.
He's okay. He's all right.
He's one of those guys that just seems like he hits a 3-pointer like at the clutch moments, but he's not a consistent 3-point shooter. He likes the game in the paint and the little short range jumpers. So that's a great point. I think the best 3-point shooter they have right now is maybe Wemby.
Yeah, maybe it's just him. Yeah, then and close second is Devin. I can think of maybe. See, with Malachi, he has it. He has that, but he just got to get consistent, and he doesn't stay consistent. We saw last year, didn't he have like a string of games, like 3 games where he was just money, fire. Then boom, he just hit a wall and he went out, fizzled out. So we'll see. Maybe it's Mamu. Mamu can knock him down. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think that for me, that's still the biggest weakness right now is perimeter threat for Wemby on the roster. Now, again, who knows? Maybe something can change between now and the start of the preseason training camp. And there's still the offseason. Stuff can happen. But as of right now, Raul's kind of 50-50 on the roster. I'm more 75-25 that it is a complimentary roster. All right, those are our thoughts on that. Let Raul know what you think about his takes at Dominguez Cinco right now. If anything, just let him know how cool his t-shirt is. Seriously. Let him know. Ask him where he got it from. So then I can find out. Then I get it. And then when he comes back on, we could be twins or something. I don't know. But, and again, let us know what you think over at the Locked On Spurs YouTube page. Hey, speaking of the Locked On Spurs YouTube page, when we get back, we're going to be discussing your comments. What are y'all talking about over there? Y'all leave in a bunch of them. We'll pick 2. That's next right here on Locked On Spurs. I want to talk about FanDuel. You want to go to FanDuel right now. You probably heard of them. It's America's #1 sports book. Yeah, they have a little something for everyone. Right now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. You heard that right. That's a deal, man. Get that. I might get that deal right now. Look, then with YouTube TV base plan, you'll then be able to watch every single regular season game Sunday afternoon, out of market games. All you need is that Google account, current form of payment, and you can cancel at any time. That is a really good deal. I would jump on that right now. To jump on it, you just want to go to FanDuel.com/lockedon to download America's #1 sportsbook.
Hello, Spurs fans. Joker here, and I listen to Locked On Spurs with Jeff Garcia. And you better too.
And we're back right here on Locked On Spurs with Raul Dominguez. Follow him on X at Dominguez5. He is an AP sports writer right here in San Antonio. And Raul, I got to ask you something. So, I know when you go to the gym, these guys, we like playing, or just anybody, we like playing hard rock music, your AC/DCs, your Def Leppards, your Rob Zombies, your Disturbed, whatever. At least that's what I listen to, okay? But is it bad that I was kind of okay rocking with Paula Abdul, Just the Way That You Love Me? So, it just came out of rotation. I said, I'm going to skip. I'm going to keep it here. This is a good song.
I thought you were going to say, was it, isn't that Straight Up?
Straight Up, whatever. But I just remember like my YouTube algorithm, because obviously everybody knows I'm an 80s guy and I'm an 80s baby. So you follow me on X, you know I'm an 80s guy. But I think it just like when I had to repeat on it, just the algorithm just picked it up. So I went from AC/DC, Back in Black. I think that's how I went. Then I went to Disturb, Stupefy, and then it went to, The Way That You Love Me by Paul Abdul. And I was like, all right, sure, not a problem. I'll mess with this.
Go with it.
Yeah, that's all I did. All right, let's talk about you guys, the Locked On Spurs fans. You guys are leaving a bunch of comments. We're picking two. We're going to address them right here on Locked On Spurs. And the first one up is about Sochan. So here we go. This is from, excuse me, I'm trying my best to pronounce your name, but if worst case scenario, I'll spell it out. It's Z Guang Zhu 8468. So I'll just say Z. Thank you, Z, for this comment. He says it's not important. Now, he's referring to a recent episode of Locked On Spurs about how much pressure Sochan's under. Sochan is just a role player and a tradable asset. If he cannot achieve a higher bar, just give him up. What do you think about that? Do you think it's a make or break for Sochan this year?
I don't think so. I think, as long as he's still sort of under the Spurs' control, I think they're going to, I think maybe once he gets to the point where he's not in their control, then maybe they'll make a decision. But at this point, no. I think Jeremy has the potential to be just a tremendous two-way star. I think he's got not on that same level, but I think he's got Kawhi potential as far as being a great two-way player. Mm-hmm. It's just a matter of his confidence on offense. Confidence is there defensively. But yes, he's a role player, but he's one of those role players in the same vein as Derek White is with Boston. It's a guy that, he's a role player, but he brings so much to the team and he helps you win. You look at Derek White. When Derek was here, people kept talking about trade this guy. He's not this or he's not that.
Remember that, yeah.
And then now you look at it now. I'm sure everyone would love to have Derek back. Same thing with Jeremy. I think if Spurs traded Jeremy, I think he would do tremendous things with another team, and Spurs fans would go, why did we trade him, or can we get him back? So I don't think it'd be wise for the Spurs to trade Jeremy, especially not now. He's third year.
Third year, going into third year,
yeah. Third year, still developing. When he came here, was a 19-year-old, so he's. I think he's just going to barely be 21. I think 22. So he's 1 year at Baylor. So he's still on the way up. And one thing about him is defensively, he's an elite defender, on the way to be an elite defender, and that's not easy to come by in the NBA. So you don't give up on guys like that.
Absolutely. Now, Sochan did speak with a recent outlet. Let me get that outlet for you here. About setting the bar higher. He spoke with Hero Magazine. Here's what he said, Raul. He said, quote, "I'm feeling good. I'm excited. It's going to be my third year, and I feel like I've got a lot to show." So he's setting the bar higher for himself. Now, discounting a failed experiment at the point guard spot, so whatever. We know it begins and ends for Sochan is the outside shot. 3-point shot, deep two shot, a consistent shot, just anything. And that's where it starts for him. But if there's anything to smile about it, again, Raul, you hit on the head, it is the defensive prowess that he has. So did some numbers here. So among sophomore players last year, for some defensive stats, he ranked fourth in deflections at 1.8 per game, second on contested shots at 4.3, and third in contested 3-point shots, 2.7 per game. So he gets it done defensively, and I think that's what's probably going to keep him around in San Antonio. Even if he doesn't become a consistent offensive guy, I think his defense is just so good that Pop loves it. For as long as Pop is here. Very similar to Draymond Green. Draymond Green isn't an offensive juggernaut with the Warriors, but then again, he didn't need to be because of Clay and Steph, but nonetheless, he never was that. But defensively, he brought it. So that's where you see a lot of similarities between Draymond and Sochan. Your thoughts?
Yeah, you said it perfectly. Just kind of what he brings. He does bring that sort of Draymond energy and defensive, intensity. But again, I think his offense is still developing. I think that point guard experiment set him back because he was having, instead of kind of concentrating on scoring or trying to score, get putbacks and follows and dunks. He was busy, worrying about trying to bring the ball up without turning it over. Busy trying to, kind of get them set up into the set play that they were going to run. I think that set him back. But late there in the year, his offense was really starting to come around. He still has that weird that 3-point shot, but it works for him. Or kind of work for him anyway. But I think probably in the interior is going to be where he's more effective. But I really do think his offensive game is going to come around. I don't think he'll never be as good offensively as he is defensively, but speaks more to the fact that he's, I think, an elite defender.
Yeah, he is. Absolutely. Thank you for that comment, Z. We appreciate it. And our last comment is from Renee9066. And perhaps the biggest news so far, is the last few weeks or days, is the retirement announcement for Bill Land, the longtime Spurs TV broadcaster, play-by-play guy. He called it a career. Unfortunately, it was more maybe because of his health. He was dealing with kind of a rare form of cancer. So the Spurs and Bill went ahead and made the announcement before the season started that that's it. It's a wrap for him. He's not going anywhere. He's just going to be, enjoying time with his family. There's not a eulogy or nothing. You'll probably see him at Spurs games next year too. They're going to give him some love to start the season. The Spurs pretty much made that clear that on that game 1 in San Antonio, it'll be time for Bill to get his flowers. But Renee left a comment here, and I want to get your thoughts on this. It says, where can we send Bill Land our appreciation for him? I love this dude. Well, you can send the appreciation to him on X. He's on X. Just search Bill Land. You'll find it. And there you can do it there. But what are your thoughts? I got to know Bill a little bit last season. For some reason, he and I are schedules. Like, we would always link up where we would drive to the media parking lot almost at the same time. So that's where we'll do our pleasantries, like, hello, how you doing, and everything. And then he'd go off and I'd go off. My biggest regret, I wish I could have talked to him a little bit more, like in the walks to the media entrance in the back. But what about you, Raul? What are your, any good memories you have of working alongside Bill at the games?
Bill's someone that I'm definitely going to miss. I mean, just the nicest guy. He'd come in there and he'd always go into the media room and would get the pregame notes, and you'd see him writing out different things that he was going to talk about during the game. He did a lot of research. He would go into the interviews, the pregame interviews, which I didn't see a lot of TV guys do that. Some did, some didn't, but he would always go to both to hear stuff and just to listen in, just to try and get a little bit more input into coach's thoughts or whatever, and he'd sprinkle them in during the broadcast. Always loved listening to, especially, since I couldn't hear him, obviously in the home games, loved to hear him on the road games. But Bill was always really nice. And I remember one time I had some friends that came to the Spurs game, and, they wanted a picture of Sochan and then with Bill. And I just remember saying, hey, if you don't mind, I have some friends here, they'd like to take a picture with you, if you don't mind, maybe after the game. I don't want to impose, but, they're big fans. Bill, I mean, it was like, as soon as he was done, Bill got up and, like looking for me, and he goes, where are they? And he's like waving them down, and telling them, hey, he's taking a picture, and he's talking before they take the picture. He's just talking to them, and he's ribbing Sochan, like he always does on TV. I mean, that interaction they have on TV is like, that's the way they are, off screen. Bill loves ribbing Sochan, and Sochan just laughs, and they really get along well. You can tell they're really good friends. But my friends came down. Bill was talking to them, made them feel comfortable.
Nice.
Took like, I don't know how many pictures, He's like, hey, you sure you got it, and shook their hands. And talked to them for a few minutes afterwards, and never felt rushed, never felt like, oh God, I got to do this, or, hurry up and take the picture. And then the thing is, right after they took the picture, there was like this long line of people that, wanted to do kind of a long line of people that want to take pictures. And Bill was like, yeah, come on down, like it was
nice.
So Bill's, and I've seen him do that, not just with my friends, with anyone, that wants to take a picture. Bill's, very gracious with his time, with his words. So I'm definitely going to miss him. He's really, really a nice guy. Really a nice guy.
One of my favorite memories of him was a game, I believe it was during the pandemic, and at that time they were broadcasting road games from the Frost Center, and DeJounte was still with the Spurs during the pandemic year, right? I believe he was, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, during the broadcast, Bill kept on just mentioning DeJounte wearing like these really bright purple shoes. And he mentioned it twice. He was like, look at those bright purple shoes. You can't miss DeJounte. And I think he didn't know what they meant. So I put on X, I added him. At that time, it was still Twitter, but I put it on Twitter. I said, hey, Bill, in case you're wondering, this is what they are. I actually spoke to him about those purple shoes and the way we go. It reflects his daughter. His daughter's name is on the shoe and everything. So during the broadcast, he saw it and he mentioned me, on the broadcast. He goes, oh, okay, now I know what these purple shoes are about. I still have video of it. I recorded it. So I want to hopefully play it in a future episode of Locked On Spurs where Bill is kind of reacting like, oh, okay, now I know why he's wearing it. He reads my X or tweet at that time on air. And so I always never got to say another regret about it. I never thanked them for that. I think I did it on X or Twitter. I said, hey, thanks for the shout out, Bill. But just knowing that it was so bizarre. It was just, he would pull up, I would pull up. It was almost like synchronicity. He would get out of the car, I would get out of the car. He would open up his back trunk, grab his jacket, he had like a dolly, notes or something like that. And he would get it, and then he would put his jacket over his arm. He would see me in the parking lot. He'd go like this, and then he would just walk, and then I would get my stuff and follow him behind him, and then we would separate. But so, yeah, good guy. Again, he'll likely be around the Spurs games. He isn't going anywhere. He's going to be enjoying, his life now and taking care of his body and his health. That's way more important. Trust me, I'm pretty sure Pop would be like, yeah, you made the right decision. Take care of yourself first.
Yeah.
So, all that's good stuff. But thank you for those comments, everybody. Keep them coming. The off season's almost ending. A few more weeks. Maybe I think we have like a month-ish left before, something like that, like a little bit over a month.
Preseason training camp starts.
All that stuff. So, it's almost winding down. So we'll keep it going right here, Locked On Spurs. Raul, what's cooking on your end? What's going on in the AP Sports world?
Just kind of the same old. Just kind of waiting on the Spurs to start and. Looking forward to the UTSA season. So, should be another fun season for UTSA. A lot of great things happening in San Antonio sports right now. The Missions just got their new, are making plans for the new stadium. Spurs hopefully get their new stadium. UTSA's getting bigger. They just paired up with the UTL Science Center. So I think that's going to help their athletic department as well. So, a lot of good things sports-wise in San Antonio.
Hey, I'm not too sure. Was it the coaches poll or a recent poll where I think Texas State got ranked above UTSA? I don't remember what it was. You're probably better at this than me. I think it was Casey Vieira. He came on last week and he was talking about it. He goes, when I got the poll, whatever it was, he was like, I was shocked. Because Texas State was ahead of UTSA. Why is that?
Good question.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe just sort of the momentum they were building last year. Maybe they have players coming back, but don't ever count out Jeff Traylor. I mean, he's done a tremendous job with the transfer portal, with keeping players there. I mean, I feel bad for programs like UTSA that develop these great players, and then then you have these bigger schools see that come in and kind of raid. And I can't remember the defensive lineman's name, but I think he said he was offered, I forgot, some outrageous amount to go play somewhere else with the NIL deal, and he decided to stay here. So, that's something that Costa and UTSA have to fight all the time, but they do a tremendous job developing players.
Absolutely. And again, you can follow Raul on X at Dominguez5. Again, let him know. Give him a shout out for that t-shirt. Just that t-shirt alone earns him a follow and a shout out on X. And as always, we thank you, Raul, for taking time out your schedule to jump in with us here at Locked On Spurs. Hey, everybody, we'll be back on Wednesday with more Silver and Black talk as the offseason continues. We're chasing a guest right now, so we'll let you know way ahead of that time. And follow Locked On Spurs on X at Locked On Spurs, on YouTube, on subscribe at Ken's 5 Plus app, iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, obviously. Pick a platform. We are there. Locked On Sports Today, 24/7 streaming channel, only on YouTube, 24/7 streaming sports, brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network. Heads up, everybody, I will be on Locked On NBA Fantasy, Locked On Fantasy NBA, sometime this week, so keep an eye out for that. We're going to be discussing the Spurs roster and so much more. So for Raul Dominguez, I am Jeff Garcia. We're going to put a lock on this episode of Locked On Spurs.